Welcome to the Build Your Reiki Business podcast. I'm Christian of Standing Stones Healing, founder of the Reiki Business Collective and creator of the Build Your Reiki Business program, sending blessings and best wishes to your Reiki business. Greetings, welcome, and thanks for tuning in to this episode of the Build Your Reiki Business podcast. I'm Christian of Standing Stones Healing, and as always, so honored to have you here, so thank you very much. In this episode, we are talking about what is an LLC, and do you need one for your Reiki business? So as always, I also want to make sure to note that I am talking about specifically US-based Reiki businesses. Anytime I talk about the technical aspects of business stuff, I'm talking about US-based businesses because I do not, nor will I pretend to know all about business formation in other countries. That is not anything I know about at all. And so if you are a non-US based Reiki business, I would say, I'm sorry, I can't help you. But, please keep tuning into the podcast, of course, because we talk about topics other than formal business formation, topics that are beneficial no matter where your Reiki business is, no matter where it is on this beautiful, incredible earth. So for US-based businesses, the LLC is a kind of business entity. And an entity, in Reiki, we use the term entity. We hear it thrown around quite a bit, but we usually mean something different when we use the word entity and we're talking about Reiki. I know you know what I mean. Well, this ain't that kind of entity. So in business formation, a business is called an entity. And it's an entity because it is something that stands on its own. So it's something that is its own thing outside of you as a person. So an LLC stands for Limited Liability Company. And it's called Limited Liability Company because when you, as the business owner, set up an LLC, your liability is limited. What an LLC does is that it separates you from your business. So this means that the business is its own entity and it is not you. What that means is that if you ever run into any kind of legal trouble or financial troubles, maybe someone sues you, brings a suit against you, has a claim against you, you are separate from your business, which means that your own personal stuff is separate from your business. Which means that if someone brings a suit against you, a claim, then your personal stuff is safe. And by stuff, I mean your assets, your bank accounts, your car, your house, all that stuff. Anything that is not owned by the business is safe by and large. I'll get to that by and large in a moment. But an LLC is a great way for Reiki business owners to protect their own personal stuff because the business is separate from them. Do you have to have an LLC in order to start a Reiki business? No, you do not. Is it a good idea? Yes. It really is. And you may be thinking, great, of course I'm going to set up an LLC. Why wouldn't I? Well, One reason why Reiki business owners or any kind of business owner might not set up an LLC is because of the cost. So forming an LLC happens on the state level. This is all individual to each business owner's state. So what that means is that when you form a business, it is done on the state level. It's not done on the federal level. So states are not filed on the federal level. They are filed on the state level. And so when you file a business, and when I say file, it's really just that. You're completing some paperwork, you're paying a fee, and you are registering your business with the state. And so when you file, it's done on the state level. Each state does this differently, but every state has the LLC as an entity that you can form. But each state has their own individual requirements for that formation. So always, always please check with your individual state and their requirements. But by and large, it is a pretty simple process. One reason, though, the big reason why many Reiki business owners might not file for an LLC right away is the cost. Because LLCs are on a state level, the fees vary widely from state to state. And the costs associated with an LLC vary widely. So the kinds of costs that you would be looking at for an LLC are the cost to file in the first place and get your certificate of organization, meaning to get your registration filed and to have your paper that says you are an LLC. And so there's that one cost, and that really varies. Some states, it's incredibly affordable. I mean, like $50, up to hundreds of dollars in other states. So, for instance, California is one of the more expensive states. It's not as cheap as somewhere like a New Hampshire, which is much more affordable. But then in addition to that cost, that initial filing cost, you also have the cost of an annual fee, so a yearly fee, where you are paying every year to maintain your LLC for that year. And this varies widely from state to state as well. Where I am in Pennsylvania, there is no yearly filing fee. So there is no yearly annual fee for an LLC. But in California, it's $800 every single year just to keep your LLC. So that plays into it as well. All of those fees really do add up and have an impact. And so if you are brand new in Reiki business and you are not making much in your Reiki business, that $800 fee to pay every year, that might be a lot. And so that's really the biggest reason why business owners wait to file an LLC and hold off on that. Now, here's the thing, though, that I want to emphasize to you is that you can have liability or a problem with your very first client. And so you might be thinking, well, I don't need an LLC because I'm only seeing a handful of clients, no big deal. I'm not trying to put fear into you, that's for sure. But I do just want to make sure to be responsible and mention to you that you could have a problem no matter how many clients you have. So you could have one client and get sued by that one client. And you might be thinking, well, Christian, I wouldn't do anything to hurt a client. Well, of course not. Nobody would want to do anything to hurt a client. Well, the vast majority of Reiki business owners, Reiki practitioners don't want to do anything to hurt anyone. And so even though your intentions may be positive, it can indeed happen. So that's something to just be aware of. You may also be thinking, yes, but I have insurance, and won't that take care of it? Well, insurance indeed can and will cover you, depending, because of course there are always exclusions in insurance policies. So please make sure to read that fine print. But yes, you can have insurance, and that can indeed help you. But if there's anything that the insurance isn't paying for, or any amount over and above what the insurance covers, you personally are on the hook for that. So when you don't have an LLC, you and your business are one, and that means that you are personally responsible financially for anything that is not covered by that insurance policy. So that's something to keep in mind for sure. So the cost of an LLC may be challenging, may be a stretch for you at the beginning of your Reiki business, but I encourage you to really consider the risks and the possible costs associated with that, and to do what you feel is in your best interest. You know, we hear this so frequently in the Reiki community. Well, Reiki can do no harm. Reiki can do no harm. So there's no need to have insurance. There's no need to have an LLC because Reiki's not going to hurt anyone. Well, this is true, yes. And when someone comes into your office and falls off your table, trips on a rug, that ain't the Reiki. And so indeed, things can still happen. And Reiki may not cause any harm, but indeed, we can still have experiences in which clients are feeling like they are harmed. I also want to just mention as an aside that we often say Reiki can do no harm, but Reiki does indeed sometimes do things like cause headaches. And so one could argue that that is harm. Of course, I think that it's like harm in the way that, you know, when you get a cut and the cut starts healing, it starts scabbing over, it itches. And that's part of the healing process. And some might say, well, that's harm, but it is to the benefit of the wound, and it is part of the healing process. So thanks for allowing me to just throw that in as an aside in terms of that idea that Reiki can do no harm. But indeed, people can still be harmed in your Reiki practice. And so it is really helpful to have an LLC and insurance in those kinds of instances. So filing an LLC does happen with the state. It does separate your personal finances, and it does separate you from your business. Now, this is the ideal because even once you file an LLC, you have to do things to maintain that LLC, to maintain that separation between you and your business. And there are certain things that you can do in order to ensure this. Things like separating finances, very important. And I encourage that even if you don't have an LLC. Things like using your business name, your formally filed business name. Things like operating as a business, very important to do. So paying bills from your business bank account, all of those kinds of things can help to ensure that if there is ever a problem, that you are still separate from your business, that your LLC does protect you, because you can set up an LLC and it's not foolproof, such that someone could still sue you and you still could have personal liability if what happens, it's called piercing the veil. And the veil is the separation between you and your Reiki business. So the veil is what separates you and designates your business as not you. And that veil is thin in a single member LLC. For an LLC, an owner is called a member. And so as a single member LLC, which the vast majority of Reiki business owners are single member, that veil is thin, which means that it could be pierced. And when the veil is pierced, that means that your personal assets are liable. So when the veil is pierced, that means that someone who has taken action against you and won, and the veil is pierced, they can go after your personal assets as well. Your house, your car, all of your stuff is at risk. And so even though you set up an LLC, your work is not done in terms of protecting your stuff. So I encourage you to make sure that you are, once you set up an LLC, if you so choose, that you are doing things to maintain that separateness between you and your business entity. You know, there's more to be said about the LLC, including the different types. So a single member LLC is the most common Reiki business type, because most Reiki business owners are go into business with and for themselves and don't have a partnership. Of course, there are other considerations with a partnership. I'll be completely honest with you. I'm not a lawyer, and I do encourage, if you ever are considering starting a Reiki business partnership, that you really, really consider whether or not that's in your best interest, and that you make sure to lawyer up for that. So if you're going into business, let's say you're forming an LLC partnership with a friend, you want to have your own Reiki business together, I want to encourage you to get your own lawyer in that. And a lawyer, getting your own lawyer who's going to advocate for you in that partnership, and making sure that everything is fair and equal. And I also just do really want to encourage considering if a partnership is in your best interest, and if it might not be better to set up your own separate LLC. And then if you want to work with someone else, just having them as a contractor and issuing them a 1099 if you pay them more than $600 throughout the course of your time together. So that because here's why. Because it's easier to get into things legally sometimes than it is to get out of them. And it can be easier to get into a business partnership with someone than it is to get out of it. And what that looks like when you dissolve it and how you dissolve it, all of the disagreements that can come along with that, all of the differences of opinion, even in terms of the running of the business itself, having to make sure that all members are on board with all of the decision-making process. Of course, you can set up an LLC that has different percentages of ownership in the business, but it can be very difficult to get out of a partnership in a clean and easy kind of way. You know, it's kind of like marriage. No, I'll say I've never been married, so that means I've never been divorced. But I think that it's probably easier to get married than it is to get divorced. As it is in love, so it is in business, right? So I just want to encourage that if you are considering a partnership with someone that you really, really, really think really hard about whether or not that is what's best for you and your Reiki business long term. Or even short term, because many businesses don't last past a couple of years, and so you may get into it and then you may dissolve it a lot more quickly than you anticipated. But you can also have an LLC that is called an S Corp. And the way that a single member LLC works in terms of taxes is it's what's called pass-through taxation. So that means that the taxes of a single member LLC pass through you personally. And so you are filing your own personal taxes along with the business taxes, and they're really one and the same pretty much. You file a Schedule C for your business gains and losses, and you put that on your own personal tax return 1040. And that's how taxes work for a single member LLC. Pretty straightforward. But they're different for an S Corp LLC. And so you may hear S Corp. This is just also a kind of LLC. So it's not separate from an LLC. It is a kind of LLC in which taxation is different because you are your business's employee. So you, in an S Corp, become an employee of your business. The business pays you a regular salary, and taxation is different, and it actually ends up being better for you tax-wise to be an S Corp. And so you may be thinking, great, I'm going to start an LLC and I'm going to be an S Corp. But hold on, because of course the IRS has rules for that. And one of the IRS's rules is that you need to be paying yourself, the business needs to be paying you an industry standard salary consistently. And many Reiki businesses, when they first start, like 99.9% of Reiki businesses or any kind of business, when they first start, the income is inconsistent and it takes time to build up a solid industry standard income and to be able to pay yourself consistently. And so that means that oftentimes you don't want to be considering filing for an S Corp until your business is bringing in a consistent wage, a consistent income that sustains you at a consistent wage. Because the IRS does look out for that. And if you turn your LLC into an S Corp and you're not paying yourself a consistent salary, a consistent wage, the IRS will look into that. That's an invitation. It's a red flag for the IRS. It's an invitation for them to audit and look into your taxes. So I don't encourage giving the IRS any reason to look into your business. And so it really is best practice to wait until your Reiki business is earning a stable, solid, industry standard income in order to support you. How much is that? Usually, the bar is around like $50,000 is the point at which the tax breaks are really beneficial for you. 40 to 60, somewhere in that range. There's no hard and fast rule on that, but the IRS will raise some eyebrows if you're not paying yourself consistently with an S Corp, because that's what it's all about, because you get tax breaks. It's easier on you as a business owner if your business is paying you in terms of taxes. And so most often your Reiki business is going to start out as an LLC. By the way, I want to throw out here as an aside that if at any point, when it comes to that point to move your business to an S Corp LLC, and to no longer have pass-through taxation, definitely get some assistance with that because, the IRS has all kinds of rules and forms to fill out and everything else. So definitely get some professional assistance with that. But that's what an LLC is, and that's what it can do for your Reiki business. Do you have to have one for a Reiki business? No, you do not have to have an LLC. So you can indeed start charging and have a Reiki business without having an LLC. And so that is definitely up to you, your choice. Please make sure to do what is right for you and your Reiki business. But that's what an LLC is all about. If you'd like to learn more about the LLC and how it is different from other kinds of Reiki businesses that Reiki business owners typically use, for instance, the sole proprietorship or the DBA, doing business as, please check out my free article, DBA LLC OMG. It's part of the free Reiki Biz Kit. And so this article will talk more about the LLC and will explain what it is, how it works, how to go through the process, and how it differs from the other common Reiki business types. You can get that for free at standingstoneshealing.com/Reiki Biz Kit. Well, whether you have an LLC, a DBA, or you are saying OMG over all of it, I'm sending you lots of blessings and best wishes, no matter what kind of entity you might have. Well, let's hope that we're only talking about business entities when I say I'm sending lots of blessings to your entity. Sending blessings and best wishes to your Reiki business. Thanks for tuning in to the Build Your Reiki Business podcast. Please like, share, subscribe, and send to a friend. Learn more about the Build Your Reiki Business program at standingstoneshealing.com/build. Sending blessings and best wishes to your Reiki business.